You hadn't been there since 2013. What did you find changed most since your last visit?
The technology and also the desire to have a more significant impact on the climate, the electric vehicles and the electric vehicle infrastructure. Shenzhen in particular, going from a city that was somewhere around 40,000 people to close to, I believe, 20 million within a 40-year time period, and doing so in a way that embraces new technology.
Before your trip to China, you expressed to me that one of your top priorities was bringing pandas to San Francisco. How did that turn out?
We met with, in Beijing, most of the government officials in Beijing, including the people who were responsible for the pandas and would be entering into the agreements with us to establish that relationship and that care and what it is that we needed to do in order to ensure that we were ready and capable of making sure that our pandas that come here are well fed, well taken care of, and that that relationship around panda diplomacy is strengthened.
Do you expect them to be here very soon?
We are really hopeful and optimistic that we can actually receive the pandas, hopefully early next year, and at the latest, maybe sometime summer of 2025.
I also saw that you saw a panda, is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Was it the first time?
The first time in person. There was one in particular, Shenzhen, and that panda just stole my heart. She came out, she sat up like a human being, she grabbed with her paw, which looks like a hand, and just, almost like took it off a stick like a skewer, and started eating and chewing and staring directly at me like she really wanted to have a conversation. We are super excited about welcoming them here to San Francisco.
I know another key priority was boosting air routes. One San Francisco International Airport spokesman was quoted as saying, just an increase of a single daily flight between a city and China to SFO could bring in upwards of 175 million in annual revenue and more than 1,000 jobs to the area. Any progress on increasing air routes?
Yeah, and before the pandemic, we had anywhere between 300 and 350 flights to the US every week. And now we're at less than 100. And that's impacting costs, that impacts visitors. And many of the tour operators in China were very anxious to see us do more, to add more flights. It appears the airlines there were very much interested in adding more flights, and we know that San Francisco also has incentives for landing fee waivers and other things. So we're ready to go, but there are some, real challenges with the Department of Transportation, and there are things that are way above my level, but we are being very aggressive about encouraging more flight options to San Francisco from China, not just because of the relationships of the people who live here, but because of the economic impacts.
I also heard you visited a very special place in Guangzhou that has a connection to San Francisco.
So we went to the Old Town in Guangzhou, and we visited the home of Bruce Lee's father, who was a famous opera singer. And it just talked about his story, and it also talked about Bruce Lee. There was an amazing bronze Bruce Lee statue. It was a proud moment for me because Bruce Lee was born here in San Francisco, in Chinatown. He was on television during a time where you didn't see a lot of people of color in prominent roles. And he represented that for so many people, but also in the African American community, how he bridged that gap and taught African Americans martial arts.
Before you left on your trip to China, I know you mentioned that it had been some time for a San Francisco mayor to visit China, that it had been too long. You're up for re-election. If you're re-elected, is this something you hope make more regular trips to China?
So when I'm re-elected, my plan is to do more sister city relationship trips to China, but also personally, because for example, when we went to the Shanghai Wildlife Park, we didn't have a lot of time there, and it's a huge park, and I wanted to spend more time there. I wanted to spend more time everywhere we went. So I'm looking forward, not just in a role as mayor, but also on a personal level.